cousin or your nephew or whatever. And so from that census data, economic historians and historical demographers, which are sometimes overlapping groups of people, are able to construct what's called the child-woman ratio. And so this is what David and Sundstrom use, this child-woman ratio. And the child-woman ratio takes from the census data the number of children ages 0 to 9 and divides it by the number of women who are ages 16 to 44. And that gives a measure of fertility. So they're not doing this on a household-by-household basis. At this point, they're doing it on a state-by-state basis. So how many children ages 0 to 9 live in Connecticut? How many women ages 16 to 44 live in Connecticut at the time of the census, 1800, 1810, 1820, 1830, 1840? And that's our measure of fertility state by state. Today we would have a more refined measure that would rely on different sorts of data. The pattern that people have noticed for some time is that there is higher fertility, more children per woman, in the South and in the Midwest than there are in the Northeast states. So I divided this table too into the high fertility states and the low fertility states. And so let me just mark my map here to show you which are the high fertility states. So Missouri has 2350, that's a high fertility state. Arkansas 2259, Alabama 2224, Mississippi 2139, Georgia 2109, Tennessee 20026, Indiana 2016, Illinois 1944, Iowa 1874. So the high fertility states are in the South and also the Midwest states. Some of the states that had been part of the Northwest Territory and states that were settled subsequently. The low fertility states, and this is just a subset of their whole table, the low fertility states here are New Hampshire and Rhode Island and Massachusetts and Connecticut, the New England states. So if we just take this subset of their table and look at where the high and the low fertility states are, we see a pretty clear regional pattern. That we've got low fertility up in the New England states, we've got high fertility in the South and in the Midwest states. I took time to do it this way because I wanted you to fill in your map. I'm not going to show you a picture, but now you filled in your map, right? So here's the same information with a pre-made map, active versus passive learning. And the darker the shade of the state, I don't know why this file downloaded Michigan in such a weird shape. And by the time, this was my first time using Stata to do state maps, and it was like, by the time I realized it had a really odd shaped Michigan, I didn't want to go back and reload another set of state files, so just live with it. So Michigan has a lake in the midst of it there. There's actually some water, stuff like that. But all that thing is Michigan. So the lighter the shade, the lower the fertility, the higher the shade, the higher the fertility is measured by the child-woman ratio. So again, you can see that the relatively high fertility states are the darkest of the blue, the relatively low fertility states are the lightest of the blue. We get the same pattern, which is low fertility in the New England region and relatively high fertility throughout the South and in the Midwest, what we would now call the Midwest states. The other thing that's interesting is that fertility rates have been declining pretty continuously, with the exception of the baby boom, for over 200 years. So table 3 in your handout for today looks at the number of births per thousand population. So this is a different measure than the child-woman ratio because now we have a different set of data that allows us to ask different kinds of questions. So we can ask about the number of births and not just the number of surviving children. So the number of births per thousand population, the data allow me to split it between the white population and between the black population, and it's black/other because in the early period, I don't remember when it ended being black/other, certainly the first 2 or 3 data points, it was white and non-white. And then the 20th century data points were white and black, and they also had Asian, Hispanic, and so on. But all non-white races are combined in the early part. So what can we see here? We also see a decline in fertility over time. So the white population births per thousand starts at 55 in 1800, and at least for the data that I showed you, because I omit the baby boom, there's a pretty monotonic decline in fertility rates down to most recent data 2010, 13 births per thousand for the white population in 2010, compared with 55, 48, 55, around 50, 200 years ago. So quite the striking decline. Demographers are fun people. Demographers are people who get excited about changes in like the tenth digits. So for a demographer, I didn't put in here the 2000 data. The year 2000 data. Fertility for white women was 14 births per thousand, and then for 2010 it's 13 births per thousand. You might think that rounds to about the same thing, but if you were a demographer, you think, oh wow, this is really cool. There's really big changes still happening. So they get really excited about changes between 14 and 13. Show them a change that runs from 55 down to 13, and they're practically apoplectic with excitement. This trend that shows for the white population, where the data go back to 1800, is also apparent for the non-white, which is black in the 20th century, and all non-white in the 19th century population as well. Let me show it to you in a graph. In the graph, you can also see the piece that I omitted from the chart, which is the baby boom. So this is showing you again births per woman coming down. Slightly different data. So this was births per thousand population, this is births per woman, but still you get the same trend. So you get this decline in fertility that starts 1800, and then you get this little bubble here, which we're going to talk about in the third part of the course. This bubble is 1946 to 1964. It's called the baby boom. And particularly with the historical data showing you the trend from 1800 to 1946 and showing you what's happened since 1964, you can really see how this is a boom and bust. And so the number of children per woman really soars after World War II in the United States, and then comes back down to trend in the later years. Hits a peak here, about the year I was born, in the mid-1950s. So I'm part of the group that had we had elementary schools that had large classes and new schools and all sorts of fun things. And then comes back down, and then since then we've had around 20-ish, 16, 13, 14, 15, 16, something around there, since the baby boom busted. Today we're going to look at the antebellum period. So we're going to look at why did fertility decline in that antebellum period. So the source of the decline in fertility, and back to the previous picture, the source of the regional pattern. So why was fertility low in New England and high in the South and the Midwest? And why did fertility decline over time? So this is looking at the data for 1800 to 1840. Some of these states are not shaded because there's no 1800 data. Right, so the states that are just white, there's no data. The darker the shading, the greater the decline in the fertility over that period. So the biggest declines in fertility are here in New England. And the smallest declines in fertility are, what is this? Well, Pennsylvania, Virginia, this area. So that's the smallest decline. So 2 puzzles. Why the regional pattern? Low fertility in the New England area, high fertility in the South and the Midwest. And why the temporal pattern? Why the decrease in fertility over time? All right. When we model anything, remember, the economic models are characterized by 3 things. They're characterized by a question, they're characterized by simplifications, and they're characterized by assumptions about behavior. When we model fertility, we need to start with the question, which in this case is what determines the number of children that a family will have. So the question that we're trying to answer with these models is what determines the number of children? Why is the number of children per family or per woman decreasing over time? Why is the number of children lower in the New England states than it is in the Midwest? That's the question. The simplification that we're going to make is that one model fits all. That is that we're not going to have different models for different classes of people. We're not going to have different models for different states. We're not going to have different models for different races. The second simplification is we're going to look only at, however, the free population. So we're not looking at the enslaved population because we're going to make an assumption here that this is a matter of choice, which is not the case with the slave population. So we're going to look at the free population, 1800 to 1840, why the regional pattern, why the decline, and we're going to use the assumption that one model is going to fit all. We're going to come up with one story that explains this pattern. And then we're going to have to figure out what assumptions, but we're not going to do that yet, what assumptions we want to invoke for the determinants of fertility. All right, building a model. If we're going to build a model about fertility, one way to do it is this. We start out thinking about what goal are people trying to achieve. So we're going to try to figure out what determines the number of children. So being good economists, thinking like incentives, we're going to think about this in terms of people having a goal, and they're making decisions as trying to achieve that goal. So the first step is to try to figure out what goal people are trying to achieve. The second step is to try to figure out what factors influence behavior. So we've decided upon what people's goal might be, and now we want to figure out what are the various factors that might influence their behavior as they try to achieve that goal. Is there some sort of price story that we can tell? That sounds like a good economist thing to do. Is there some sort of income effect that we can talk about? That sounds like a good economist thing to do. So the various concepts that we have in economics that are things that can influence behavior, we want to think about what are the factors that influence behavior in terms of deciding upon fertility. And the third is what assumptions do we need to make? So this is not what are the factors that matter, but what assumptions do we need to make? So for instance, I started by saying people have a goal. So I'm already making an implicit assumption. What do you suppose it is? Who wants to give it a shot? Nick. That people want to have kids, that's part of it, and more. People make plans, that's right. And that they can control how many kids they're going to have. So they have a plan, they have a desire, they have a plan, and they have a way to achieve that plan. All of that was embedded in my saying that they have some goal, and we're going to talk about the factors that influence fertility. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do a lot of this with group work. So we're going to have your standard groups. So over here, we're going to have groups that go across the rows, and over there, groups that go across the rows. And here, I always forget if I have threes or fours. Let's do, this looks pretty well packed. Let's do 1, 2, 3 as a group. Let's do 1, 2, 3 is a, 1, 2, 3, 4 is a group. That wasn't going to work otherwise. 1, 2, 3, and columns 1, 2, 3 are groups across. So the first thing we're going to do, first step, what goals? When parents are deciding the number of children to have, the number of kids to have, what goals are they trying to achieve? Here's the way we're going to do this. Here's the process. First, I want you, before you start your groups, I'll tell you when to start talking to each other. I want you to jot down on your pad some ideas. These things do not have to apply simply to 1800 to 1840, and they don't have to apply just to the US. So just brainstorm. This is the brainstorming piece. We're going to brainstorm what are the goals that people are trying to achieve when they're deciding how many kids to have, whether they have 1 or 2 or 3 or more kids. In a second, after I give you a chance to write that down, then I'll tell you to start talking to your groups. Make sure in your group, the first thing you do is you choose a reporter. Because somebody needs to be the person who's going to report out from your group. And then when we report out, the reporter's going to report one goal, so you may want to prioritize your goals. But the reporter, you and your group have to listen because you can't repeat what somebody else has said. Got it? All right. So take a minute and jot a few things down on your pad, and then I'll tell you to form your groups. So take a second in silence. So the part here, this was the silent part. So this was the before you started talking to each other part. Wasn't working very well. So this is the silent part, the before you start talking to each other part, where you're writing down a couple of notes on your pad. It's called think, triplet, share. So the first part is the think. That's much better. That's a lot better. Okay, now talk to your group mates and see if you can compile one list. Make sure you know who your reporter's going to be. Okay, make sure you know first. Yeah. Just to change the pages. Okay, I've got 2 blank pages here for writing. Oh, wait, okay. So fill one up with the rest. This thing, if you go to color down here, you see how it changes again? That's how you change color. Those are awesome. Okay, and then you just write. So okay, you write your name. Oh, awesome. Right. And am I allowed to put my hand down or no? Yeah. How does it know what my name is? Because it's only reading the information to the pen. Okay, now I go down here to the pen, cover, and then the next one, cover, and so then I need your pen. Yeah. Well, okay. Not until you touch here, please. No, with the pen. No. There we go. Okay, so go to that, and then see where it says eraser? Yes, eraser. So now that's selected? Yeah, select that. Now it's selected. Okay, now I should have eraser. That's pen, it's definitely pen. Okay. Oh, that's it. Yeah. All right, how smart do you have to be to do this? And then choose your pen color, or you can just choose pen. There we go. All right, how many fertility goals do we expect to get out of these guys? Yeah. Hopefully this will have them. There's no farm labor involved? I'm not sure what we're going to do about that. Utility. Okay, so she's going to do this. We'll circulate. We can cover this section. So right. Is that your cell phone? Is that your cell phone? Yeah, I need you not to be doing that during class. It's really rude. So if you need to do that, thank you. What's your name? John? Okay. Did you guys come up with some stuff? Yeah, we should. Perfect. How y'all doing? Okay. Got stuff? Okay. You guys have a list? Okay. So, where am I? Hello. Okay. I think we're ready. Are we ready? Rachel's going to be our scribe. So I gave Rachel a little lesson on using the pen on the computer. So she'll be our scribe. This is a test. This is only a test. It should be ready to rumble. Yeah. So, and on the pen, there's a little indentation on the pen, which is like a right click, so you don't have to touch that. Yeah. Yeah. There you go. All right. So let me start at the top. So who's the reporter in this group? What's your name? Muhammad. Give me one. It's so easy being first. Yeah. So I think you're on to step 2. What's the goal that you're trying to achieve? In deciding whether you want to have 1, 2, or 3 children, what goal are you trying to achieve? I think I'll come back to that. It's going to be a good answer for the next one. What's the goal, though? All right, let's try over here. Who's the reporter in your group? What's your name? Michael. For religious reasons? So give me a little more on that one. Proselytize? Okay, so it might be religious slash I don't know how to spell either. So religion, we'll put down religious, and anybody who wants to figure out how to spell proselytizing can write that down. So religious reasons. Is that right? Okay, spreading the religion. All right, who else? Next group. Who's your reporter in this group? What's your name? Steven. What you got? Help on the farm. Labor. Right, so they need workers on the farm. Good. Farm help. So you have kids because you need somebody to work the farm. My grandmother was one of 8. They lived in Iowa. She was the only girl. There were 7. She had 7 brothers. I think she was the youngest as well. She's either the youngest or the next to the youngest. 7 brothers and my grandmother. And the interesting thing is about farm labor that because there was 7 boys and 1 girl in her family, they teamed up with another family that had a farm nearby that had a lot of girls and not very many boys. And so some of my great uncles went and worked on that farm, and some of the daughters came and worked on my grandparents' farm. So they would rebalance and sort of do a regender balancing by sharing, right? So we produced too many boys, you produced too many girls, and then what happened? They all married each other. So there you go. Which is perfectly legal because it was not like cousins marrying cousins; it was neighbors marrying neighbors. But they don't. Anyway, okay. Who's the reporter in this group? Okay, what's yours? Okay, so you want to have a large number of kids so that at least some kids survive. I think that's not a goal in terms of. No, I think in terms of how we're thinking about this, that you want to hold on to that, to think about, like if your goal is 5, right, you might want to have 7 because 2 might die, right? But the question is, why might your goal be 5? Because you want to have somebody around to take care of you when you're old. Okay, so old age, somebody to take care of you when you're old. And so you might want to have 7, so there's at least 2 or 3 left who'll take care of you when you're old. Does that work? Okay. What else? Who's a reporter in this group? You are. You have anything else? Oh, good. What's your name?
My name is
Drew.
We thought of having it. But you have to get more, it depends on how many children you get.
True.
So the more you have, the more time you have to get. That's kind of a goal. That's what we have to do because you don't have that time or one works more than the other.
Okay, so it takes time to raise kids. That's true. But I don't know that we've identified a goal that helps you decide why you want to have kids. I think you're coming up with something that's going to be an answer to the next yes. Okay.
We only have 2 kids, so we don't have that much time.
Okay.
Could that be like deciding how many kids?
Could be. It's but it's not. It's deciding how many. Okay. Put time and put brackets around it because I want you to hold that answer for the next section. That's going to be a good answer for the next question. Okay. Who else? Somebody else have a goal. We have another goal. Yep. What's your name? Nelia. Okay. Inheritance. So you want to be able to bequeath. You want to be able to pass on your wealth, right? So you want to have children because you want to be able to pass on your wealth. Patrick. All right. So the goal is not that you want to have X number of kids, but you want to have at least 1 boy. You're going to keep having children until you finally have that boy. So 5 girls, finally a boy, number 6, and then you stop. So I don't know. Importance of having a son. Yeah. What's your name? Nick. Companionship. There you go. Companionship. No, I think that's fine. Companionship. Although with my son being almost 15, I'm realizing that it's only for a short period of time. That's a limited time. But yeah. So you're talking about companionship for the parents or companionship sibling to sibling? Both. Okay. So companionship and as a subset, yes, would be sibling to sibling for parents or for the siblings. Dennis. Hold that answer for the next section. Okay. So one goal that you might be trying to achieve in deciding how many children to have is social pressure. So either the neighbors or the family, right? Your mother, like, how old do you think you need to be before you make me a grandmother? Huh? I'm not going to live forever. Social pressure. Okay, is there anything else that goes on this list of goals that people are trying to achieve when they're deciding how many children to have? Okay, so supplementing income. Good. Anything else you want me to put on this list? Yep, what's your name? Josh. Carry on the family name. Good. I think you can put upper right-hand corner. So carry on the family name. All right, so we've got a whole long list here. I'm going to add love. No, I meant giving love. You can call it altruism. So you can call it utility if it's receiving love, or you can call it altruism if it's giving love. How about that? So put down utility and put down altruism. Okay. So you have love to share, and you want to share it with a little one. So I'll just add that one just for. Get a puppy? No. I like my son more than I like my dog. Okay. I mean, our dog is fine, but my son has a better place in my heart. Okay. So now we've got to handle on some possible goals. So now we're going to have our next question. What factors, and some of the answers y'all gave over here work here, what factors influence the decisions people make about how many children? So for instance, Dennis said tax incentives. Tax incentives might be something that influences how many children. So people have children because they're trying to